Cogito Protocol. Cogito. Not sure how to pronounce that, but Carmelo, this is what I found here.
Hello, everybody. We're back again with another Wednesday eye test where we're going to look at another. Yeah, do that. We're going to look at another project that's launching in the upcoming days. And I guess we can head over to CryptoRank and pick out our next victim. Or maybe it's a good project. We don't know.
Next victim. Wow, a strong word. So we'll see how this one goes. We found on CryptoRank a really interesting one. Well, just I guess a little bit info up front. There are like 7 AI GPT projects launching in the next week, and so we've been doing a lot of AI stuff, but it kind of seems unavoidable because there's just too many good ones to dive into. So this is a fun one that we found. And let me go ahead and show you guys Cogito Protocol. Cogito. Not sure how to pronounce that, but Carmelo, this is what I found here. They offer a stablecoin-as-a-service framework to create digital assets with low volatility called tracer coins. So they've got their own like brand of stablecoin in a stablecoin as a service. And yeah, I think this is kind of fun and hot considering the disaster that was Terra Luna last year. And interesting to see like if it's somewhat of like an algorithmic stable coin or a collateralized, semi-collateralized. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good question. I have a hard time believing anybody would want to build an algorithmic stablecoin right now in light of the collapse last year, but we don't know. But this is interesting. I have heard some companies launching like this, like a stable coin as a service protocol, because this will be huge for CBDCs eventually. Like when governments want to toy with the idea, and being the front runners there and having some sort of framework to build these definitely appeals to some governments that are looking to do that. So this is very interesting already.
That's a really good point too. And in our own work, working with GameFi startups and token economies, this is also a big gap there as well. There are a lot of GameFi economies that struggle with the concept of using a native token because there's a lot of volatility in a token that might have low liquidity. So having a stablecoin as a service provider would be really helpful for GameFi economies too.
Yeah, I
Just
wonder
adds the use.
if it's not algorithmic, they must have some sort of way, maybe a smart contract to lock up value or to put up collateral, at least partial collateral to back that stablecoin value. So I'm interested to see what they have and what they're powering it with.
Yeah, for sure. And before we dive in, we can see on CryptoRank here, we've got 4 IDO launch pads that are hosting this token launch. Looks like they're raising a total of maybe like 750,000 on public at a token price of 4 pennies. And yeah, so that's cool. They're raising like a quarter of a million, three quarters of
Eight
a million there. Don't have any
eight
info
hundred
on.
and seventy thousand launches
Yeah,
tomorrow.
okay. My math was pretty close, but yeah, interesting to see like what they might be raising privately or what that looks like. Algorithmic stablecoin as a service. Are they raising in equity? Are they raising in token only? I guess we'll try and find out.
Well, we don't know if it's algorithmic, but probably. Also, aren't you? I'm just still amazed that IDOs are happening again. I kind of can't believe it. It's weird to see.
Yeah, it seems like it's getting hotter and hotter. I mean, on CryptoRank especially, we like this site because this and ICO drops. They have a lot of upcoming IDOs, and like there's like a I don't know 6 or 7 planned for the next week. It's pretty cool. You're finally seeing the startup industry pick back up again, but a lot of AI. Thankfully, not too many more meme coins. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's why we're seeing an influx of AI projects because that's the only ones bold enough to launch right now that are performing well, I guess. So I haven't seen many, like maybe a few game launches here and there, but not so many other types of projects and other niches.
Yeah, I think for good reason too. You see AI in the news everywhere outside of crypto, and yeah. So if you're good with it, we'll go ahead and dive in. We'll start the clock.
Yeah, start the clock, and I guess we head to the website first because that's where everything happens.
All right, we're gonna start the clock right now. Boom. Okay. Um, be my guest.
Okay, well, first thing I noticed is nice looking website. Kind of reminds me of our own website. That graphic on the bottom, powered by Singularity Net, which is pretty cool because I have heard of Singularity Net and Singularity DAO before. So that's interesting that they are incubating or possibly just full on building this themselves. Um, it is AI driven stable asset and decentralized supposedly. So I'm not sure how you can have an AI driven asset. Like that could literally mean anything, as we've seen from previous videos diving into AI protocols. Like the very liberal use of AI. So I mean, if you want to be technical, any video game in the last 25 years has had AI characters in multiplayer modes. So what qualifies as AI, I have no idea these days. It's a moving target.
That is a really interesting one. And so, like, we've ran into the same issue with Chain GPT, Crypto GPT. Everyone's throwing AI around, and you really don't know, how liberally they're using this term. What I'm taking from this, though, AI driven. Let's just call it an algorithmic stable coin. Like, it doesn't sound like in this hero text there's any idea of like this being a collateralized stable coin. Maybe they're doing like some sort of semi collateralization, but already running a big risk. Algorithmic stable coins, a lot of heat behind there. I think the general consensus is that none of them have survived.
Oh, they might even offer you an option. Maybe it's like a bespoke, like build your own stable coin and they give you the different parameters. That'd be interesting too. But like I said, I don't know anybody that's chopping at the bit to create an algorithmic stable coin right now. It's kind of a risky business.
Maybe you and I should create one on the next bull run. It seems like every bull run, people's memories get wiped. Maybe we can walk away very, very wealthy. We'll see. Um, but yeah, so here we go. They
Okay.
offer a stablecoin as a service framework to create digital assets with low volatility called tracer coins. I really do feel like this is a good application for GameFi. I feel like,
Hmm.
if they are able to create this for a very specific purpose for a game economy where there might be very little risk or financial risk of like economy manipulation or a whale coming in just destroying everything with like $1 billion transaction like that happened in Terra Luna. So yeah, it could be pretty cool actually.
Yeah, I think we've spoken to a few projects when looking to design game economies. Like it makes sense to have like some sort of stable asset, even if it's not a multi-billion-dollar market cap. Even if it's meant to be small and localized and for a small ecosystem in a game, it might make sense to have like this as a service. So I like the idea. And then it says here the AI tool layer integrates data and aggregate to a weighted average to quantify the progress in improving the environment. Doesn't sound like a whole lot, to be honest, but looks like they're getting data from the World Bank, United Nations. So I don't know how they're gonna, what oracles they're gonna use, or how they're gonna get that data feed, and how they're gonna, use machine learning to improve that over time.
Mm. Yeah, huge issue when it comes to external data sources. Reliability, accountability, consistency, like making sure that you have multiple feeds in data oracle or an aggregate data oracle is always a good idea, especially when you're talking directly about asset price. AI tool layer, like the words that I'm reading here, obviously there's probably going to be like a lot more in the white paper or document, but this doesn't really scream AI to me. It just kind of feels like it's data analytics or to some extent like some elements of machine learning, which you find in a lot of different things that aren't labeled as AI.
Yeah, which is sad because I've seen that, and I think you've seen it too, that a lot of projects look strong enough on their own to warrant launching and existing, but they add AI because maybe they're not so confident that they could exist without it, even if it doesn't really use or integrate AI so much. They maybe it makes them feel better about launching in this climate.
I completely agree with you there. I don't know. People are maybe they're just being resourceful to some extent. We talked about that before. One thing I'm seeing here that's a little concerning: peg mechanisms tied to dynamic incentives to adjust circulating supply. So we're going back to like a full algorithmic stablecoin with minting, burning, and then user incentives. I'm guessing. I believe that was like a model used by Iron Finance and to some extent Terra Luna. Both of those crashed and burned terribly. But again, I guess it depends on the scale of this. If we're talking about a widely and globally adopted stablecoin, there's much more risk, like that too big to fail mentality. If it's stablecoin as a service for a small ecosystem, that could be okay.
Yeah, I think it's probably along the lines of like if you're a major video game developer, you develop your game with your own resources. But if you're a smaller indie one, you'll probably utilize tools like this to create it because you don't have the resources to, do it from scratch like the major players. So I don't think, like you said, I don't think major countries maybe or like nobody's going to create a new USDC or USDT competitor with this. But for all other applications, it might make sense.
Index creation using SingularityNet AI for smooth and stable output. I like the word smooth. I like the word stable. We'll see what that means. And there's a lot more words pertaining to stability. So, algorithmic deposit protocol, stability protocol, stabilization functions. You know what? This kind of like warrants a deep dive into the white paper, I think. Like already I'm feeling a little bit more interested.
Yeah,
And they got the king of them all, governance.
well, I mean, it's incubated by DAO by the look of it, so governance does make sense here more than most projects that throw around governance. But on that note, we should probably move on because we only have a few short minutes left, and I want to honor the clock. So, yeah, maybe we can look at the white paper. Maybe we don't have time to really read much in it, but just to show what it looks like. Maybe dive into some socials after that and see what the marketing presence looks like.
Yeah, for sure. And just scanning through this really quick, like this all seems very interesting. Like I'm much more interested to dive much deeper into this. But this is what the 10 minutes is for, right? So let's go into the white paper,
Looks like
which,
they have some good partners too. They're already partnered with a few stablecoins, Cody and DJed.
man, we'll revisit that. But disappointingly, they've got a Gitbook, so that's not our favorite, as you guys know. But it looks quite technical and it looks very no frills. So that's good, like especially for something technical or a little bit more professional, like Cogito. So again, some information on the tracer coins. They've got a G coin, which is a green index fund, it seems like. And then they've got some mentions of their protocols, but here we go, here in a nutshell.
There you go.
What
Algorithmic stabilization backed by AI.
do
Interesting.
Okay, and redeemable. So the protocol allows some redemption between two assets, liquid and illiquid assets. Okay, there's a lot of information here, and again, when it comes to stablecoins, there's a lot of technological and economic factors to consider, like how is it stabilized? Are there multiple different token supplies? Are there smart contracts that trigger when certain events happen to create or to eliminate, burn, or mint tokens that'll stabilize the supply compared to the value? This does merit a deep dive, but again, a lot of these words paint a picture that's going back to like disastrous sort of stable coins that
Uh,
we've seen in the past.
the fees part is interesting too. There's two ways in which they collect fees: minting tracer coins, so all origination, transaction cost, and redemption fees. Oh, so they're going to be using Uniswap V2 market maker.
Interesting.
Interesting.
And so the minting tracing tracer coins, that's sort of like a B2B revenue stream because tracer coins will be supplies that are minted for customers that want to use a stablecoin as a service protocol. The redemption fee in the form of slippage from the AMM price curve. That's interesting. That's a strange revenue stream you're going with.
I hate to cut you off, but is there anything can look at, maybe Twitter or LinkedIn or some marketing? Because I think we only have a few seconds left before the dreaded alarm comes on.
Well, let's look at LinkedIn real quick. Boom. Oh, something happened. Okay, so they're based out of New York. That's cool. New York algorithmic stablecoin, US. What's happening here? This is pretty legit, right? 240 followers and 4 doxed employees on LinkedIn. So it'd be cool to dive into each one of these employees' backgrounds and see how they line up with who they are and what they need. And then I guess real quick, Twitter. All right, they got some followers. Started last year in September. The launch coming up. Do you see anything that pops out? Oh
No. uh, I mean, they're putting out content on Medium, so that's I don't like to see that, to be honest. But at least they're putting out content, because I think there's been some studies that there's been less and less content being put out by projects because they don't see the value of long form content, should I say? So just some typical partnership announcements, kind of your standard marketing approach on social media. Yeah, I'm trying to think of who their core audience is upon launch. Like, it's not your typical coin that will appeal to the lowest caliber investors that kind of just latch on to trends or narratives. So it's a little bit technical. So I'm curious to see what happens after the launch. Like, who's going to be buying these tokens? Who's very bullish on it? Because they're not like in your face about the AI aspect of it. At least not as much as some other projects we've covered. So I think ones that fail to mention the AI aspect in their name or their hero text maybe don't perform as well, because it's harder for people to latch onto it. So yeah.
Man, that is a really good point, actually, and something I didn't even consider the entire time we've been talking about this. Like, this is not a sexy project. And you look at some of the launch pads on here, I think Seedify, Engine Starter, if I'm not mistaken, like there are some major launch pads that have been focusing solely on hype in launching projects for the past month, 2 months, who knows, like since AI picked up. And so, like, what are they seeing here? Are they just seeing the words AI and they're diving in and saying, let's feed our audience more of the AI narrative because they love how it creates pumps and they can make some returns? But like, again, this is not something that is like purely AI, and also it comes with the taboo of algorithmic stablecoins. So like, this is interesting. It definitely merits a deeper dive, I think. I want to understand, like, how is the marketing strategy lining up with the token launch strategy? Because you're right, like, who in the retail world is interested in buying something like this? It's not GameFi, it's not metaverse, it's not something that like a retail investor or an average everyday person can really use, since it's sort of like a stablecoin as a service platform for businesses.
Yep.
And they don't have any good idea, at least we don't have any good idea from this 10-minute eye test, to understand, like, if they were to buy this token, like what kind of returns or value appreciation can they expect. So yeah, that's a really strange one.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's not the sexiest project, but the irony there is that these kind of projects are the sexiest to us as like investors. I'm more curious about stuff like this that kind of takes more time to study and get into in the white paper, and you have to dive into the technical aspects of it. But I don't think your average investor doesn't have time or interest in this. So my gut says that this is on some major launch pads who have had successful AI related launches in the last month or so. So I have a feeling that this lack of understanding about what this does for lay people, that will create like a massive sell off. At least initially, people won't really understand. Like you said, why should I hold this token? Maybe we're going to see it being used purely as a speculative asset, like to trade or to make money. So it's like a financial vehicle. I don't know if people will really understand how this value translates to token holders, which is my main question. So I guess my verdict is I definitely would dive deeper into this. It's interesting. It's one of the more interesting ones we've covered, and it's come across our plate in quite some time. So I'm definitely intrigued to see how it does, and how they address that problem. But yeah, what do you think about it?
I hate it. I'm just joking. I think I voiced my opinion like several times already. I want to learn more. I want to talk to the team. I want to understand, like, what is the purpose of this. Stablecoin as a service is a good idea, but if you don't have any like potential target customers, then what are you really doing? You're just creating something and throwing it out into the void and hoping that it floats. But yeah, I agree with you. I kind of like what we've seen so far. I love the website; it looks beautiful. And yeah, maybe dive deeper into the marketing as well and see what's happening there. But From my side, I'd say 2 thumbs up so far. Pretty cool. This is the type of stuff that we love, the technical stuff, the things that are like the infrastructure things in the blockchain. Yeah.
Absolutely. And yeah, I will say like how well they pivot. I've seen some teams like they don't they have an initial idea and then they kind of pivot to if they have this issue, for example, they're too B2B oriented and they realize they need some more consumer facing products to entice people into holding their tokens and not just using it as an asset to trade. Then maybe we see them coming out with some interesting ideas too to create more products. But that's one thing I would keep an eye on after the launch as well. But yeah, I think I'd give this 2 thumbs up too, and definitely curious to learn more about it. So on that note, I think we did a good job staying under 10 minutes. I think, yeah, we give a lot of observations during those 10 minutes, so maybe we could cut down on that. But we're getting better. And if you have any ideas on what we should feature next week, there's a lot of AI projects coming out. We don't want to just choose the easy ones, so please give us your suggestions in the comments below. Like, subscribe, do all that fancy stuff, all that. And thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you next week.
Adios.